Chapter 2495. On the way back, Hinga once again sat in Gaia's car, although he was not very willing. But considering the journey back to the city, he finally sat in Gaia's car. "What did you do to me?" Gaia silently looked at Hinga. "To make you stronger." "Stronger? That method that looks like witchcraft can make me stronger?" Suddenly, Gaia lifted her leg and kicked Hinga's body without warning. Hinga was still in a daze. His whole body smashed through the car door and fell out of the high-speed car. He rolled a few times on the road and was covered with bruises. Hinga struggled to get up. At this moment, he was still in a daze. Then he saw Gaia suddenly turn the car in front of him. Hinga swallowed his saliva and looked at the car in front of him in horror. "Madman, you are all madmen. What are you doing? Are you trying to kill me?" "Virum!" Gaia stepped on the accelerator, and the car directly crashed into Hinga. "Huh!" Hinga screamed. His whole body suddenly jumped up and did a 360-degree somersault in the air. The car raced beneath him. Hinga could not believe that he could actually do such a move. Moreover, it was in such an emergency situation. But his feet just landed on the ground, and he did not have time to stand firm. The rear of Gaia's car suddenly swung over. It directly hit Hinga and sent him flying, landing on the grass by the roadside. Gaia got down from the car. I will kill you." Hinga gathered his courage and directly jumped towards Gaia. But the next moment, Gaia lifted her leg and directly kicked Hinga away. Zinger slammed into the trunk of a sapling behind him. The tree was directly broken. Hinga covered his back. "What are you trying to do?" "Stand up and hit me." Hinga's chest heaved up and down. He grabbed the tree on the ground and rushed towards Gaia. Crack! Bang! Gaia smashed the tree with her fist and then swept her leg across Hinga's face. Xi and Jia somersaulted in midair and fell to the ground in a sorry state. But this time, Hinga did not need to say anything. Hinga stood up. However, his determination did not last long. He could not straighten his back under Gaia's punches. Singa picked up a boulder that weighed more than 20 kilograms, raised it above his head, and smashed it towards Gaia. Bang! Gaia's fist thundered out. Xianjia's mouth was wide open. The stone was smashed into pieces by Gaia's fist. How terrifying! How much power and how hard was the fist needed to smash the stone into smithereens? "What exactly do you want?" Sinka roared. He couldn't beat her, but this woman was simply a Tyrannosaurus. "Don't you think it's strange? I just used 3 times my usual strength, and you've already suffered so many blows, but you can still stand up. Hearing Gaia's words, Syndicate suddenly realized something. "Did you really use 3 times your normal strength just now?" Gaia suddenly turned around and punched the trunk of a nearby tree. She blasted a dent into the tree trunk. Xi and Jia felt his scalp go numb. The female Tyrannosaurus in front of him was a monster with no limits. "Both your boss and I have invested a lot of money in you. Of course, there are other things besides money. If you fail, it will be a huge loss for us. As revenge, we will directly fill you with cement and then sink you into the sea. So don't doubt our determination. We are willing to pay any price to win. Don't think that what we do is meaningless. It may seem strange to you, but it doesn't mean that it's meaningless. Including throwing me into a pot to cook today? In China, there's a special method. It is to put medicine and beast bones into a pot and then let people soak in it. Their bodies will absorb the medicine and improve their fitness," Gaia said. "Even now, there are still such steaming baths in China. Your boss is an expert in this. He knows better than anyone how to improve a person's fitness. Before you and Tiger, he had 2 other successful cases. They were both the best athletes in their respective fields. Tiger was supposed to be the 3rd, but now your boss wants to destroy him. You will be his replacement. So, I wasn't cooked today. I was just in a steaming bath. Is that what you mean? Other than the fact that you contaminated the first pot, your steaming bath is quite effective," Gaia said calmly. "And the soup that you've contaminated will also enter your body along with the medicinal power and be absorbed by you, although it won't cause you any harm. Haven't you noticed that your body is filled with a smell? Fortunately, you didn't go overboard, or else," Gaia said indifferently. Syndicate wanted to cry. He suddenly realized that he had done something stupid. Very, very stupid. Something that even made his stomach turn. This smell? What should I do? It's okay. 2 or 3 days of metabolism will expel these substances. Exercise more and sweat more. It can make your metabolism faster. So, you kicked me out of the car to injure me and increase my metabolism. No, it's because I can't stand your smell, Gaia said calmly. Gaia said indifferently. Also, I need you to pay for the maintenance of my car. I'll put it on you for the time being. Why me? You can discuss this with me when you can beat me. Syndicate was speechless. Even though he felt like he had changed, he still felt helpless when facing Gaia. He couldn't even block a single move. Even now, he was barely able to prevent himself from being knocked out by Gaia with a single punch. Well, have I ever been able to beat you? No, can I barely fight you? Although I don't want to discourage you, this idea will only exist in your dreams most of the time. All right, maybe I should focus on how to win this match. Syndicate waved his fists. He felt that his injuries weren't that painful anymore. I should be strong enough to beat Tiger now, right? I'm not sure. But to ensure that you win, I think your boss will give you special training. Will I continue the steaming bath? I don't know. Anyway, he has a way. Just then, Gaia's phone rang again. After picking up, Gaia said to Syndicate, "Look, your new lesson is here again." Chapter 2496. Moodo watched as a military truck drove into the base. Then, he opened the trunk and found that there was no light in the trunk. When he shone the light into the trunk, he saw 2 rows of soldiers sitting inside. But it wasn't exactly right to call them soldiers. They wore a metal device on their faces that completely blinded their eyes. There was a red flashing stripe on the metal device. It seemed to be a sensing device used to replace the eyes. There was a number on their shaved heads. Their bodies were thick and tall, and each of them was close to 2 meters tall. Their skin was slightly dark, and they were equipped with a strange gun and a dagger. Suddenly, a ray of light lit up in the deepest part of the truck. Moochuo was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. He saw a tall man coming out from the deepest part of the truck. He was also wearing a metal device and had a shaved head. The only difference was that he wasn't equipped with a dagger because there was a machete on his left arm. "You are Laner Dodge. You can also call me number BA1. Moodo realized that Laner Dodge didn't speak, but he could hear his dull voice. His voice came from a hole in his neck. Moodo realized that there was a metallic luster under the skin around the hole that hadn't been closed yet. There seemed to be a piece of metal under the skin of his neck. No, maybe it wasn't his neck, but his entire body. There were pieces of metal under his skin. "I was sent by the boss," Laner Dodge said. Moodo's expression changed slightly. When he first met Vincent, he always thought that Vincent was the boss. Later, he called Vincent boss, but Vincent said that he wasn't the boss and that the boss was someone else. He didn't expect the boss to send people over this time. "My team and I are responsible for all the safety here. We will take care of all the hidden dangers from the outside." "Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming, Mr. Laner." Moodo said welcome, but in reality, he didn't think so. Although the team sent by the boss seemed to be unique, there were already over 100 people in the lab. However, there were already hundreds of such armed forces in the laboratory. Whether it was firepower or combat power, they were several times stronger than the people in the carriage. The combat power provided by the boss seemed to be meaningless to the overall situation. After all, they were now facing an army equipped with the most powerful weapons in the world, and it was at least a regiment's worth of troops and firepower. This small number of troops, along with the laboratory's original armed forces, might not be able to withstand a wave of carpet attacks from the other side. What was the concept of an American carpet? The capital of a country in the Middle East had once enjoyed a carpet. It was no different from razing the place to the ground. Unless they were hiding in a building 100 meters underground, it would be difficult to ensure their safety above ground. "I heard from the boss that you have some unnatural animal experiments here, right?" Moodo replied calmly. "Can I have a look?" "Here?" "Of course. They are wild beasts." "I know." Moodo thought for a moment. Randall Dodge was sent by the boss after all. It wasn't the right time for her to argue with him. "Kevin, send a mature, evolved human to the surface." Maoto, are you sure? I'm sure. Bring it up. I know what I'm doing. Not long after, a beast cage was brought over. The four sides of the cage were covered with metal sheets, and it was very light when the crane lowered it. Open it, Randall said. What? Open it now? That's right. You're crazy. Evolved humans hate light. Once it comes into contact with light, it will either hide in a cave or lose control and start massacre. You can hide in a safe place. I know, Randall said calmly. There are mature ones at the boss's place, and one is their ancestor. All evolved humans are made from the ancestor's cells. Maoto was stunned. Ancestor? He had asked many times where the cells used to create evolvers came from, and now he finally got the answer. It was a primogeniture. As he spoke, Randall Dodge suddenly punched the metal sheet that the evolved human was locked in. Then he lifted it forcefully, and the entire metal sheet was blown away. Roar! It was a black beast that was more than 4 meters long. Its body blended perfectly with the shadows. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't even notice its existence. It did not immediately rush out of the cage. Instead, it stood in the shadows, but its bloodthirsty eyes were already emitting a cruel intent. Suddenly, it launched an attack, pouncing towards Randall Dodge without any warning. Just when Maoto thought that Randall Dodge was going to die and he was about to find a safe place to hide, Randall Dodge pressed the black beast onto the ground with one hand. Maoto and Kevin beside him were dumbfounded. After all, it was an adult, evolved human. Their strength is greater than that of the strongest land predators in the world. But at this moment, the adult, evolved human was pressed to the ground by Laner Dodge with one hand. Randall Dodge pressed his palm against the evolved human's eyes and mumbled. Gradually, the evolved human calmed down. At this moment, Randall Dodge pricked his finger and wiped it on the evolved human's nose. Roar! The evolved human howled. Maoto was confused. He didn't understand why he did this. After a while, Randall retracted his hand from the evolved human's eyes and let go of the evolved human. The evolved human was no longer in a frenzied state after coming into contact with light, and he behaved himself in front of Randall Dodge. What did you do to it? I've been modified too. I can see that. In terms of biological structure, we belong to different species. In fact, the modifications I received are closely related to it. It could even be said that we share the same origin. That's why I can use my blood to make it remember me and turn it into my pet at the same time. You only need to wipe blood on its nose. Indeed. Is it the same for your soldiers? They're different from me. I'm modified and they're made. Laner, boss only sent you and your men down. It doesn't seem enough. Can you contact our boss and ask him to send more soldiers? No need. We're enough. Chapter 2497. Tiger, here's what you need. Impatiently, Tiger snatched the box from Bok's hands. Different from the colorless potion last time, the complete version was filled with dreamy colors. How do I use it? Just take it directly. Same as last time. Impatiently, Tiger poured the potion into his mouth. Drink. Tiger slowly felt the potion flow into his stomach and then spread. It was an unbelievable feeling. It felt like all the cells in his body were alive. Then, Tiger felt something sticky on his body. He reached out and touched his skin. Sticky dirt actually appeared on his skin. What's going on? Why does the dirt keep coming out of my body? Tiger didn't understand. He could only rinse his body. But soon, the dirt he rinsed off came out of his pores again. But compared to the first time, the amount was obviously much less. Tiger could only rinse again, but then the dirt came out of his skin again. Tiger rinsed a few times. Finally, the dirt stopped coming out of his skin. Tiger, on the other hand, felt an incomparable feeling. His vision and hearing all underwent terrifying changes. Tiger could even hear the flapping of the mosquitoes hiding under the sofa. He could even see the dragonflies laying eggs in the water across the pool. At the same time, Tiger felt hungry. Very hungry. He started to eat. Crazily. Cerberus Lab. Maoto, come here and take a look. Kevin pulled Maoto over. Look at what? These are the cells left behind by one of our clients when he applied for customization. Kevin moved away from the microscope. Maoto looked at the microscope. In the microscope, he saw normal cells absorbing the nutrient solution. Isn't this normal? Is there a problem? Look a bit longer, Kevin said. Moato continued to observe. Just then, he saw the cells swell a bit. What's going on? How did the cells swell so much? Not only did this customer's cells expand, but they didn't die faster. Instead, they survived longer. The skin cells extracted from the skin tissue provided by him should have survived for about 14 hours. But after absorbing the potion, his cells survived for more than 18 hours, and their activity was greatly increased. Moreover, after absorbing a small amount of poison, they automatically excreted the poison. Unless they were completely immersed in the poison, their skin cells wouldn't die. The devil's elixir they developed was one of their main research topics. However, the devil's potion was not a complete product. Although the devil's elixir could greatly improve the human body's functions, it was not enough. However, it would cause people to be easily angered. According to the research on cells, it was found that after the cells absorbed the drug, the rate of cell death would increase. His cells, which had a lifespan of more than 10 hours, would shrink by 50%. Thus, the devil's potion could only be considered a half-finished product. However, in order to get back the research funding, and even if a normal person took the drug, it would be difficult for them to discover the side effects. Therefore, as a research organization, the Cerberus organization did not care about this side effect. However, at this moment, they discovered that not only did one of their customers not have any side effects, but the effects of the devil's potion were even better than others. This was simply the perfect embodiment of the product they had developed. Why is it like this? Did you find a reason? Other than the difference in blood type, everything else is the same. Who's this customer? A boxer. He's very famous and rich. Think of a way to bring him to the lab. No matter what Moato said. Moato said, he might be the direction of our research. He is a perfect material. I've already sent someone to follow him, but he seems to have gone overseas for a competition. Use our connections overseas. No matter what, we have to bring him here, Moato said. His value is immeasurable. Maybe we can give him a defeat, Kevin said meaningfully. Kevin said meaningfully. Under normal circumstances, if we don't use conventional means, we won't be able to get this kind of rich and powerful person to follow us. But what if we let him fail? An unprecedented loss. Feilai, are you going to Russia? No. Feilai rejected Chun Zhao's invitation without hesitation. She knew why Chun Zhao was going to Russia. She was not interested in boxing or the competition. Fine, then I'll have to go alone. Chun Zhao nodded. The topic ended there. Come back early. Don't stay outside for too long. Got it. Spare his life. At least he used to be your student. If I wanted to kill him, he'd be dead already. In modern society, the best way to destroy a person was not to destroy their body, but to destroy everything they had. The next day, Chun Zhao boarded a flight to Moscow. It was still the flight he hated the most. It was almost 10,000 kilometers away. Apart from flying, there was no other choice. To deal with this flight, Chun Zhao had to kill time by taking out a large number of movies and TV shows. After a 20-hour flight, Chun Zhao finally set foot in Moscow. Moscow was very cold in January. One could even feel the bleakness and desolation in Moscow's Sheremetyevo Airport. Compared to Los Angeles, which was also an international metropolis, the number of passengers here was half. After leaving the airport, there was a long line of taxis outside, but no one came down to help the passengers with their luggage. Even the locals did not like the cold wind here. This was Chun Zhao's first time traveling alone. In the past, he'd either been accompanied by Feilai or a member of the association. Otherwise, he'd been accompanied by Portia. This time, Alex was also coming, but she'd arrived 2 days earlier. Of course, Alex was also temporarily acting as Chun Zhao's assistant. She helped him arrange his itinerary in Moscow. In return, Chun Zhao would also be responsible for Alex's expenses in Moscow. On the way to the hotel, Chun Zhao called Gaia. Gaia, how's Syndicate's training? Not bad. His improvement is unexpectedly good. There's less than 3 days left. Tell him to come to Moscow as soon as possible. It's much colder here than LA. He needs to get used to the temperature here. I'll go with him tomorrow. You can arrange things there first. Fine. I shouldn't have come so early. I don't like it here. It's too cold. It's at least -5 degrees Celsius today. I don't like it either, but considering that I can earn a lot of money this time, I gritted my teeth and endured it. Chapter 2498. After all, Syndicate had experienced quite a few professional matches. He had even accepted the challenge in the arena. But this time, he felt unprecedented fear. At the airport, he'd already gone to the toilet 5 times. What are you afraid of? Gaia glanced at Syndicate casually. I'm really worried that you'll pee your pants on the plane. If that's the case, you better not say you know me. I just drank too much water. I'll go to the toilet. Syndicate smiled, but his smile seemed forced. Syndicate hurried to the toilet. Just then, someone came out. Syndicate knocked the person to the ground. Sorry. Helplessly, Syndicate pulled the person up. It's okay. Syndicate didn't mind, but the person looked back at Syndicate. Manager, it's done. Good. Send it over. It didn't take long for Moato and Kevin to obtain Syndicate's skin tissue. Syndicate didn't realize it at all. After all, he didn't need to pierce the skin to collect the tissue. He only needed to rub a rough object against the skin. On the plane, Syndicate didn't kill time by watching movies. Instead, he watched boxing videos. Of course, most of them were Tiger's matches. From these videos, it was obvious that Tiger's strength had a step-by-step growth process. Syndicate could even see that Tiger didn't go easy in any of the matches. He'd won every match with ease. Even a match he'd fixed with Syndicate. He clearly had absolute strength, but his agent still superfluously asked him to fix the match. Of course, even if Syndicate really fought with him, he probably couldn't beat him. But now, Syndicate understood. Their starting points were different. After receiving Chun Zhao's potential stimulation and Gaia's training, Syndicate also deeply experienced the process of a person evolving into a Superman. As long as he didn't compare himself to Gaia, Syndicate felt that he was a Superman. Tiger must have walked the same path as him back then. In the entire boxing world, there was no boxer who could fight against Tiger. He wasn't in the same dimension as the other boxers. However, in the near future, he would challenge Tiger. At the same time, he would challenge his position. And he was the only one who had a chance to challenge Tiger. Because he'd had the same experience as Tiger. Moato, I've discovered something. What is it? I took a skin sample from Tiger's opponent and found the same result as Tiger. What? It's not just the same. Based on the cell sample alone, his cells have a more obvious reaction to the drug than Tiger's. The effect is also better. Do all boxers have this effect? No. After I got the preliminary results, I asked someone to find skin sample from a dozen boxers in L.A., but their results were the same as normal people. Only Tiger and his opponent had this strange phenomenon. In other words, this kind of experimental result is not a natural result, and there is some kind of connection between them, right? That should be it. Then bring both of them here. We should be able to get some clues from their mouths. In that case, should we still use the Devil's Potion on the Syndicate? Let him use it. If one side uses it and the other doesn't, then the match will be too boring. Let me see how these two boxers, who are perfectly compatible with the Devil's Potion, perform in the ring. There was still one day before the match. Syndicate had already started his adaptation training. These 2 days, Gaia's punches were especially gentle. At least, she wouldn't knock him out for no reason. This hotel's food sucks. Syndicate swallowed his food with difficulty, but he still tried his best to finish it. Really? I think it's pretty good, Gaia said calmly. I'm going back to my room. Syndicate didn't like hotel food. He only felt 60% full, but he couldn't eat outside, because in the hotel, he could ask the hotel to order food. But if he ate outside, he might violate the international rules of using contraband food. When Syndicate returned to his room, he realized that his clothes were sticky. He took off his clothes and realized that his clothes and body were all sticky with a black substance. What's going on? After rinsing, the black substance seeped out of his skin again. This repeated a few times. After 2 hours, the black substance finally stopped seeping out. Worried, Syndicate called Gaia. Ms. Gaia, I don't know if there's something wrong with my body. My skin keeps seeping out black substance. Hearing that, Gaia immediately went to Syndicate's room. What kind of black substance? Oh, it's the black substance on your clothes. Seeing the black substance, Gaia suddenly remembered that she'd also gone through this stage. That time, she'd taken the medicine Chun Zhao had provided, and the same thing happened that night. Later, Chun Zhao had said that the black substance was the poison in her body. In his words, it was cleansing her meridians. This wasn't a bad thing. On the contrary, expelling the poison in her body was very good for her body. This is a good thing. It expelled the poison and impurities in your body, Gaia said. Your body is probably improved again. Is that so? Haven't you realized that your senses have all improved? I think so. I can even hear the sounds in the room downstairs. Eavesdropping isn't a good habit. Also, if you don't control the spread of your hearing, it'll be a huge obstacle to your life. So, you need to learn to control your ability. Ms. Gaia, can you do it too? What you're experiencing now, I've experienced it before, and my reaction is even stronger than yours. In the beginning, I could hear all the sounds in the entire building, while you could only hear the sound from the nearby floors. However, this sudden improvement is also beneficial for you in the competition. In the ring, even if you have your back to your opponent, you can still sense the angle and direction of the opponent's attack. Then I can compete with my eyes closed. In principle, yes, but you'd better be responsible for our bets. Whether it's me or your boss, we don't want our investments to go down the drain. Divine King of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 2499. Bach, I heard a woman on the phone. You've only been in Moscow for a few days, and you've already hooked up with a woman here? It's a client. Bach glanced at Tiger. Ever since Tiger had taken the potion, his ears had become sharper and sharper. He could even hear the call from a dozen meters away. This made him more careful when he spoke on the phone. I'm going to meet a client, Bach said. Come back early. Oh, arrange 2 women for me. The competition is tomorrow, Bach said, frowning. To me, it doesn't matter who I'm competing against. All right. Bach could still feel the changes in Tiger. Both physically and mentally, Tiger had changed greatly. Tiger was getting more and more arrogant. He didn't even train these days. He just let himself go every day. Bach left the hotel and hurried to the place where he and Alex were supposed to meet. When they arrived at the restaurant, Bach found Alex, but there was an Asian man sitting next to her. Miss Alex. Bach came to their table. This gentleman is? My boss, Chun, Alex said. Mr. Chun, hello. Bach nodded slightly. How's Tiger these days? Chun Zhao was here to get some information. He'd seen Tiger's videos before. Tiger's growth was clearly abnormal. So, Chun Zhao kept an eye on him. Tiger hasn't trained these days, Bach said. Most of the time, he's with the prostitute. If it was someone else, Chun Zhao wouldn't have any objections. He would even think that it was a normal way to satisfy his physical needs. But Chun Zhao hated Tiger even more. That's for the best, Alex said. The worse Tiger is, the more stable our profits will be. She bet $5 million on the underground dealer. She wouldn't lose everything, but if she lost, she'd definitely be hurt. Tiger used something to strengthen his body, right? Chun Zhao suddenly said. Bach looked at Chun Zhao in surprise. Did this Chinese guy know? No, there shouldn't be many people who know about this. Even in the black market, one had to have enough connections to be able to touch it. He was just guessing. Bach suddenly thought of a problem. In Los Angeles, he'd been afraid of Chun Zhao and Alex, because the two of them held the most powerful force in the United States. Rich people can do whatever they want in that country. One was a lawyer, a top lawyer. She could also wield the weapon of the law to attack any of her enemies. But here, in Moscow, their influence could not reach. Bach happened to have some connections here that allowed him to contact the local gangs in Moscow. A crazy idea appeared in his mind, especially Chun Zhao. Under his obscure gaze, Chun Zhao was like a moving treasury. If he succeeded, he would get a much more generous reward here than in the underground lottery. That's enough. Let's call it a day. Chun Zhao stood up. He was not interested in talking to Bach anymore. Bach could not provide him with any more information. He didn't know anything about most of her questions. Chun Zhao could feel that he was purposely trying to fool him. But Chun Zhao did not care. After the competition, he would settle the score once and for all. Chen Zhao and Alex went back in the car. However, the two of them realized that the car didn't seem to be heading to their hotel. Chen, there's something wrong with this driver. Yeah, I noticed. Chen Zhao nodded. The tattoo on his collar should be the symbol of a local gang. Alex said. What do we do now? Call the police? Let's wait and see where he's taking us. It's very dangerous. Alex frowned. Do you want me to take the risk with you? Of course not. I'll protect you. After all, you're little Larissa's aunt. We're not in LA now. The Moscow gangs won't fall for that. Did you forget? I'm good at fighting. Alex sighed. Fine. I hope they won't use guns. Oh, is it legal in Russia? Yes, but it's very strict. These gangs don't have as many guns as normal people, Alex said. But it's still very high. Just then, their driver was talking to someone on the car's walkie-talkie. Boss, where are we going now? It's at the abandoned factory in the suburbs. Are the two people in the car suspicious? I don't think so. If they are, they'll call the police or cause a ruckus. They probably don't realize what car they're in. Good. Oh, don't use guns. It's a big fish. If you accidentally kill him, you'll have to sell your ass in Africa. Alex glanced at Chen Zhao. They're indeed a gang. Luckily, they think you're a big fish, so they won't use guns. Do you know Russian? I'm proficient in 7 foreign languages, Alex said. I'm learning the 8th Japanese. Just then, the car stopped in front of an old factory. Judging from the weeds and damage on the road, it had been a long time since there were any cars here. Just then, Chen Zhao suddenly raised his foot and kicked the back of the front seat. The driver in the front seat hit the steering wheel and was knocked out by the airbag. What are you doing? Chen Zhao found the driver's gun and tossed it to Alex. Take it for self-protection. What about now? Are you going to stay in the car or go in with me? I don't like being left alone in the middle of the night, Alex said. Then let's go in and see what's the difference between the gangs in Moscow and LA. Alex wasn't an inexperienced little girl. She had interacted with people from many fields, including gangs. She would be scared, but she wouldn't back down. Oh, I remember you saw me kill people before, right? Yes, when we met in San Francisco, you killed someone in front of me to investigate the truth behind Glenn's murder. So don't be too surprised if I use any bloody methods this time. Try to be gentle. After all, I ate a lot for dinner. Have you gotten heavier recently? Do you want to buy a slimming treatment? Divine King of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 2500. Chen Zhao pushed open the rusty, broken metal door. This was a factory left behind by Russia in the last century. But now, it had decayed along with Russia and was gradually forgotten by people. The steel smelting furnace and the steel production line were also extremely old. Ladies first. Alex glared at Chen Zhao. Now you know how to give priority to ladies. Although she was complaining about Chen Zhao didn't stop. However, he didn't stop and strode into the factory. The factory was filled with hundreds of gangsters. But one of them surprised Chen Zhao and Alex. But thinking about it carefully, they weren't too surprised. That person was Bach. They just had a meal together not long ago. Mr. Chen, Ms. Alex, nice to meet you. Are you surprised to see me here? I'm not too surprised, Alex said. Just then, the Russian man beside Bach looked down at Chen Zhao and Alex. Are these two the big fish you were talking about? More accurately, the Chinese. How rich is he? He's probably 1,000 times richer than all of you combined. How much can he pay? 1 million? 2 million? Much more than that, Bach said. You can even ask them for 10 million in US dollars. The Russians' eyes lit up. Really? They can really pay 10 million? Of course, Bach said with certainty. That Chinese is a billionaire. He's very rich. After all, Chen Zhao could take out $200 million as a reward. It meant that he was at least 10 times that amount, maybe more. After all, there weren't many people in the world who could take out $200 million. Okay, then I'll let them go if you ask them to pay 10 million. Bach nodded and looked at Chen Zhao and Alex. Guys, my friend said that if you give him 100 million, he can guarantee your safety. Chen Zhao and Alex didn't seem to be listening to Bach at all. If a fight breaks out later, you can hide inside. That room is made of pure iron. Unless these people use heavy machine guns to strafe you, you'll be safe inside. There are a lot of Russians here. Are you sure you can handle them all by yourself? Don't worry, these guys are just a mob. How about I give you this gun? No need. Chun Zhao and Alex chatted as if no one else was around, but Bach's expression was very ugly. He hated Chun Zhao and Alex's arrogant attitude. Those two clearly don't understand what fear is. Maybe you should teach them a lesson. The Russian boss thought about it and waved his hand. A few of you go down and teach them a lesson. Just then, a few big men surrounded Chun Zhao and Alex. Chun Zhao casually knocked over the Russians. Then, he clenched his fists and smiled. Looks like we won't be able to negotiate peacefully. You should go into the metal house now. All right, be careful. Alex turned around and walked up the ladder. After entering the house, Alex used the iron bar on the ground to fasten the door bolt. Bach and the Russian boss were obviously unhappy, especially after Chun Zhao made a singing gesture. Mr. Chun, do you really want to die? That's if you can kill me, Chun Zhao said nonchalantly. Bach turned to the Russian boss and said, Chekhov, give him a hard time. Otherwise, we won't be able to make him surrender. The Russian boss nodded and waved his hand. All of you go and break his arms and legs. A large, impatient man had already charged toward Chun Zhao. Seeing the big guy, the Russian boss couldn't help but smile in satisfaction. That was his #1 fighter. He was responsible for most of Chun Zhao's troubles. For example, he'd planted a bomb in the police officer's house last time. Also, he'd helped him deal with the tainted witness and his family last time, or half a year ago, but his smile suddenly froze. Chun Zhao was holding the big head. All the sounds of fighting and killing came to an abrupt end in an instant. What did they see? They saw the Chinese grab the big guy's shoulder with one hand and his head with the other. Then he ripped the big guy's head off just like that. Chun Zhao slowly raised his head and the smile on his face widened. Bach suddenly shuddered. He vaguely remembered what Tiger had told him before. A gang had once tried to get him to fake a fight. Chun Zhao rejected them, and they flew into a rage out of humiliation. They gathered more than 30 people to surround them. Then Chun Zhao took care of them all by himself. Tiger had also said that his teacher didn't really fight, but when he did, his methods were usually extremely cruel. Bach suddenly felt a bit regretful. His thoughts were too simple, and his plan was too crude. When Chun Zhao cut off the first person's head, it was usually the start of the massacre, not the end. Bach and the Russian boss finally couldn't keep their expressions. It was their first time seeing someone so cruel. Every attack took a life, and it was done in a horrifying manner. He either punched through people or turned their heads into watermelons. Soon, more than 10 people collapsed. They didn't dare to go forward anymore. Instead, they wanted to escape. But just then, Chun Zhao turned to the door and closed it with a metal bar. He had a smile the entire time. In everyone's eyes, the smile wasn't bright anymore. Instead, it was the smile of a devil. Guns! Hurry and use guns! The Russian boss yelled in terror. Finally, Chun Zhao wasn't as slow as before. Chun Zhao's body started moving rapidly. The rain of bullets couldn't hit him either. And at this moment, Bahi truly felt the terror. A person who couldn't be suppressed by modern weapons was the scariest. And Chun Zhao wasn't just running. There were still people dying every second of every day. Not long after, the entire factory was covered in blood. It was literally a river of blood. There were broken limbs everywhere. Mutilated corpses were everywhere. Bach finally understood the source of Tiger's fear. When this man revealed his true face, he would really leave a deep impression. Suddenly, the screams stopped, and so did the gunshots. Bach and the Russian boss curled up in a corner, shivering in fear. That terrifying figure finally appeared in front of them. Nine Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 25:01. In Bach's eyes, Chun Zhao was a demon king right now. He was indeed doing something like a demon king. Chun Zhao had shown what it meant to tear someone apart with his bare hands. The Russian boss that he'd tricked had his mouth covered by Chun Zhao. Bach could see the fear in the Russian boss' eyes. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Chun Zhao patted Bach's face lightly. After all, I still need you to help Tiger. You're safe before the competition ends. Bach didn't dare to wipe the blood off his face. He was filled with regret. Why did he always scoff at what Tiger said in the past? Why didn't he pay more attention to them? Oh, help me set up a fire. With that, Chun Zhao turned and piled the corpses together. After Bach set up a fire, he walked toward the metal house. When Alex came out of the house, she couldn't help but cover her mouth. The smell was too strong. She looked at Chun Zhao's body. It was covered in blood. After leaving the factory, Bach stood before Chun Zhao, trembling in fear. He didn't dare to run, because he'd done everything under Chun Zhao's watch. He believed that if he dared to run, Chun Zhao would definitely deal with him in an even crueler way. Right now, he was already traumatized by Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao glanced at the taxi parked outside. "Help me toss the people in the car inside," Bach said. Alex looked at Bach, who was obediently listening to her. "How many people did you kill just now? How can you scare him like this?" "I've asked around about him. He's definitely a cancer in the manager industry. He's done as many bad things as the mafia. It's very simple. I'll dismember everyone in front of him. Even if he's a manager or a butcher, I can make him incontinent. But why don't I see any corpses?" Alex looked at the burning, abandoned factory. When she came out, she indeed didn't see any corpses. But she was sure that Chun Zhao had killed many people. After all, the smell of blood in the air couldn't lie. Just then, Bach finished dealing with the unconscious driver. Once again, he returned to Chun Zhao, trembling in fear. "He didn't run. I promise not to kill him now," Chun Zhao said. "Why? Do you think Tiger will know how to get to the competition venue without a guide? What happens after the competition? I'll give him a chance to escape, and then I'll put up a bounty. I'll let him enjoy the feeling of being chased for the rest of his life like in the movies." Chun Zhao glanced at Bach. "Send us back to the hotel." "Bach, where did you go?" Tiger looked at Bach unhappily, because he still had many needs that he needed Bach to serve. In the end, Bach ran for the whole night. Tiger thought Bach was going out to play. He abandoned himself in the hotel. However, Bach did not answer Tiger's question. Instead, he fell onto the sofa in a daze. Tiger talked to him, but he didn't listen. Tiger grabbed Bach's collar. "Bach, I'm talking to you. Are you dead?" When did I come back?" Tiger frowned and looked at Bach in confusion. Bach was obviously not normal. Ever since he came back, he had been muddle-headed. "Bach, what happened?" "No, nothing. Nothing happened. Prepare for the competition. It's going to start in the afternoon." Tiger did not understand what was wrong with Bach. But Tiger did not really care about Bach. Seeing that Bach did not speak, he lost the urge to continue asking. In his eyes, Bach was just a servant who served him. As the master, he would not care about his servant's feelings. Bach stared at Tiger silently. Tiger had been raised by the Demon King. Now, the Demon King wanted to destroy his disciple. "Tiger, if you're surrounded by 100 gangsters, can you kill them all?" Bach suddenly asked. "Tiger, if you're surrounded by 100 gangsters, can you kill them all?" "I don't know. I think I can kill 30 or 40 and then break out." Tiger thought seriously and replied, "Why do you ask?" "No, nothing. I'm just curious. You're so strong now, so I thought you could do it." "I can't help it," Tiger said. "You can't control your strength, so every time you kill someone, you'll use more strength than the person can kill." This was actually basic knowledge in professional boxing training. All boxing coaches would use this as an example. What if someone could tear more than 100 people apart? That's basically impossible. For example, a lion can fight an entire pack of hyenas, but a lion can't kill all of them in one go. There's a limit to human muscles. Oh, he had hoped that Tiger could say that he could do it. But Tiger's answer disappointed him. At the same time, he felt Chun Zhao's terror again. "Why do you ask?" "Nothing." Bach shook his head. I hope that the person raised by the Chinese isn't as terrifying as he is." That was all Bach could hope for now. The competition was today, so Tiger did not mess around. Instead, he stayed in the hotel obediently. After lunch, Tiger started warming up. But for some reason, Bach's question popped up in his mind. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. "Bach, what is it?" Bach immediately jogged over. "What did you mean by asking me that question today?" I don't mean anything. I was just asking in a whimsical way." "No. Did something happen to you last night?" No. The more Bach denied, the more Tiger suspected that something had really happened. After all, something had clearly happened when Bach came back. "Hurry up and change. We're going to the competition venue soon. Bach did not want to continue the question, so he urged. Tiger went to the venue with all sorts of doubts. Bach's question still lingered in his mind. He could not get rid of it. He changed into his clothes in the locker room. When he walked through the tunnel, he saw a figure coming from the opposite corridor. Tiger suddenly stopped. Syndicate, it's you? Tiger stared at Syndicate in disbelief. Zinga smiled and said, What? Is it weird? Don't waste time here. Just then, a voice that terrified Tiger rang out. Gaia was standing behind Syndicate. Chapter 25:02. Gaia, Miss Gaia, why are you here? Tiger was more afraid of Gaia than Chun Zhao, because Gaia was the one who had trained him. At this moment, Syndicate understood Tiger's fear of Gaia. Bach followed behind Tiger. He saw Tiger's fear of Gaia. He made a mental note that Gaia was another person that Tiger was afraid of. What do you think? Gaia asked emotionlessly. Tiger lowered his head silently and glanced at Syndicate. Syndicate's body exuded a faint sense of threat. It seemed that he'd also received training from Chun Zhao and Gaia. But today, he was different from the past. Teacher's here too, right? Of course, but he wants you to call him Mr. Chun. So he arranged this match for me too. Tiger wasn't an idiot. In fact, his academic grades in school weren't bad. A good student might have a low EQ, but his logical thinking wouldn't be bad. Tiger clenched his fists tightly. He walked out of the tunnel to the ring silently. The live audience cheered in an instant. The thunderous cheers were all from Tiger's fans. As the only Grand Slam winner, Tiger's results had even surpassed all the legendary boxers in the past. But when Syndicate walked out of the tunnel, he was greeted with boos. This was a very interesting match. The sponsors had spent a lot of money because this was a battle between a hero and a cheater. Syndicate, who was called a cheater, claimed that he would use this match to clear his name. Because the people around Tiger blocked the information, he didn't know the outside news at all. During this time, Chun Zhao had invested a lot of PR money on Syndicate. Of course, Chun Zhao didn't care about Syndicate's reputation. He cared about the return. No one believed the PR news that clearly cleared Syndicate's name. But it couldn't stop this match from becoming the hottest topic. According to research, this match attracted more than 5 billion people around the world. It was even more popular than the last World Cup final. 40% of the World Cup's revenue basically came from the final. This meant that Syndicate and Tiger's match was equivalent to 50% of the World Cup's revenue. Just the sponsorships from the major brands were more than $700 million. The broadcasting rights were sold for a sky-high price of $245 million. The sky-high prize money and broadcasting rights made this match even more sensational and eye-catching. Although the highest ticket price for the game had been raised to $60,000, the revenue had become a small amount. It was so small that Chun Zhao ignored the income of almost $10 million. Syndicate's notoriety was evident at the scene. Tiger accepted the host's questions in high spirits. The host was clearly leaning towards Tiger. The questions he asked were all very relaxed, and his words showed his blessings for Tiger's match. Then, when it was Syndicate's turn, the host humiliated and made things difficult for him. Syndicate's mood was obviously ruined by the host. Then the referee went up. Sin and Tiger were placed in two different corners. Their respective coaching teams would arrange tactics for their players. Gaia was now in charge of the manager's work. Don't be in a hurry to decide the winner in the first round, but keep attacking, Gaia said. I understand. Tiger listened to the coach's instructions, but didn't listen. His gaze kept searching the audience. Suddenly, he saw Chun Zhao sitting in the first row below the ring. Chun Zhao crossed his legs and narrowed his eyes, as if waiting for the match to start. Suddenly, Chun Zhao opened his eyes. Tiger was startled. The moment he met Chun Zhao's gaze, Tiger's heart almost stopped. He felt Bach, who was feeding him water, tremble in his hand. Tiger glanced at Bach, who was also looking at Chun Zhao. His body was trembling. What did he do? Why are you so scared of him? Bach's water bottle almost fell to the ground. Tiger could feel Bach's fear of Chun Zhao. The question you asked me today is related to him. Bach didn't even dare to meet Tiger's gaze. Do your best, Bach instructed. Then he left the corner of the ring. Tiger's heart suddenly felt heavy. Ring, ring, the bell rang. The first round began. The referee stood in the middle of the ring and signaled for the two fighters to bump fists. The match officially began. Instantly, the atmosphere in the ring changed. Both Hinga and Tiger's gazes turned extremely sharp. Tiger's eyes shone with ferocity. Do you think you climbed up a tree? That's only the beginning of your nightmare. Tiger suddenly threw a heavy punch. It was many times stronger than when he'd beaten Hinga up at his house. Chen Zhao couldn't block it, but Hinga felt that Tiger's punches were really slow. Hinga easily blocked Tiger's attack with his left arm. Different from last time, Hinga's left arm wasn't broken. He easily deflected Tiger's punch and punched back at the same time. Bang! Tiger's face was punched, and he stumbled back a few steps. The originally enthusiastic cheers at the scene came to an abrupt end. Tiger was also shocked. He rubbed his face with his gloves. Painful. He'd actually been hurt. How was that possible? He'd used the devil's potion on top of that. His strength was several times stronger than before. Even if Hinga had received training, he shouldn't be able to catch up to him. Could it be? Could it be that Chen Zhao had held back during training to prevent him from betraying him? Hinga's attack succeeded. He didn't follow up. Instead, he took 2 steps back. He remembered Gaia's instructions. There was no need to decide the winner in the first round. Tiger became furious. He felt like he'd been betrayed. He'd been betrayed by Chen Zhao. Next, both sides gave up on testing each other and started punching each other. The most exciting thing in a boxing ring wasn't a KO. It was this kind of endless bombardment. Heavy cannons and cannons were all aimed at each other. After a brief silence, the audience suddenly exploded with unprecedented passion. They didn't care who was who anymore because this kind of exciting match was what they were looking forward to. At that moment, no one would remember the syndicate scandal. No one would care about Tiger's status. In just 3 minutes, both sides were beaten black and blue. Finally, the referee blew the whistle and the first round ended. Both sides returned to their own ring. Gaia handed them a bottle of water. How was it? Tiger's not bad. He actually took 40% of my strength. Chapter 25:03. Ring, ring. The bell rang, and the referee blew the whistle for the second round. Although there were bruises on their faces, with their regenerative abilities, these injuries were nothing. Both of their expressions became extremely serious. In the second round, they started to show their true abilities. Their attacks, parries, blocks, and counterattacks. This was a match comparable to the World Cup final. The fight between the two of them was simply too exciting. Sin was sent flying with a punch, but when he hit the guardrail, he used the momentum to return another punch. There was no dull stalemate. There was only brilliant offense and defense. And it wasn't just one side attacking and one side defending. Their rotation of offense and defense was simply too fast. One moment, it was offense. The next, it could be defense. Amazing, really amazing. It's not just Tiger. Even Syndicate's performance is amazing. The host shouted passionately, "Looks like Syndicate is much stronger than he was the other day." According to the speed of the instruments at the scene, Singa's punch reached 405 kilometers per hour, which is already a world record. Oh my God, Tiger is also fighting back. He punched 16 times in 1 second. Did you see that? Did you? It's too fast. I only saw a shadow. This is the best fight in the history of boxing. There's no need to doubt that there are no fighters stronger than them in the past or present. No fighter has ever met an enemy at their peak in the same era. Without a doubt, Tiger and Syndicate are natural enemies. Who will win? Kevin asked. That's Sin. His recovery ability is stronger than Tiger's. His resistance is also much stronger than Tiger's, Lance Dodge answered. The one who answered Kevin was Lance Dodge. Moato also looked at Lance Dodge. How did you see that? Didn't you notice? Tiger hasn't made Syndicate take 2 steps back yet. But every time Syndicate punches, Tiger takes at least 3 steps back. It looks like both of them are holding back, but Syndicate is definitely holding back more. That's right. It's best if both of them are injured. That way, we'll have a chance. It's simple, Lance Dodge said. Even if they aren't injured, we can easily bring them back. Chen Zhao watched 2 rounds. In the eyes of the spectators, it was an extremely exciting match. In his eyes, it was rather boring. In the 1-minute break after the second match, Chun Zhao finally stood up and walked to the side of the ring. Tiger also saw Chun Zhao's actions. In fact, he had been focusing on Chun Zhao from the start. Don't hold back for the third round. Kill him. Zinga was stunned. He had a rough estimate of Tiger's strength, but killing Tiger seemed a bit difficult. Chun Zhao patted Syndicate's shoulder. Singa stretched his limbs. He felt that all the pain had suddenly disappeared. Was it a psychological effect? Xinjia was a little surprised. However, at this moment, the third round began. The two of them once again clashed fists under the direction of the referee. In the third round, Tiger suddenly gave up on defense. Instantly, it became a barrage of attacks. For a moment, Xinjia became a little sluggish and could only defend. Oomph. Syndicate suddenly heard Chun Zhao snort. In an instant, Xinjia deflected Tiger's punch. He raised his right arm and swung it forward. Bang! Tiger's arm also blocked Xinjia's fist, but Tiger's arm broke in an instant. The fist landed on Tiger's face without any resistance. Xinjia didn't stop. The second punch followed. He swung his left arm. Tiger twisted his neck. His feet felt a little light and his body floated up. The third punch, an uppercut. Tiger's feet left the ground. Before he could land on the ground, Syndicate's fourth punch followed. The entire world fell silent. That's right, most of the audience in the world fell silent at this moment. It was only for a short second, but in this 1 second, too many things had happened. At least for Tiger, too many things had happened. A terrifying attack landed on Tiger. Tiger couldn't fight back at all. As a matter of fact, he had already lost when the first strike shattered his arm bone. The referee could have pulled them apart then, but Sin didn't give the referee a chance to stop the match. His indiscriminate bombardment was simply too fast. Just as Sin was hesitating, Chun Zhao's voice rang in his ears again. Continue full power. Explode. Sin roared. His fists shot out like bullets. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone saw that Tiger's body was almost deformed. Beep, beep, beep. Just then, the referee finally reacted. He hurriedly blew the whistle to stop the match. Syndicate also stopped their attacks. If he attacked again, he might kill Tiger. Being killed before the whistle and being killed after the whistle were two different concepts. Tiger fell to the ground in a pool of blood. His chest, arms, and face were all deformed. His mouth, nose, and ears were all beaten beyond recognition. At the same time, he couldn't stand up anymore. He was still human, not Superman. Hinga stood in front of Tiger. The judge had his arms around Hinga's waist. He had to prevent Hinga from attacking Tiger. In fact, Sin didn't even want to attack. Sin tore off the gloves with his teeth and threw them before Tiger. Roar, I want to prove to the world that I'm not that shameless cheater. Everything is because of this damned bastard's slander and threats. He threatened my daughter. Syndicate could finally vent all the grievances in his heart at this moment. Only then would others believe his words. Whoosh! The tens of thousands of people in the stands cheered. They were supporting the new king's ascension, and they were also witnesses to this ceremony. No one sympathized with the old king. They only had eyes for the new king. Sin! Sin! Everyone was shouting the new king's name. Finally, Chun Zhao smiled. He nodded slightly. All the effort he had put in all this time. All for this moment. The traitor would be doomed eternally. The countdown of 10 seconds was too long for Tiger. He tried to stay conscious, but his body was telling him no. Then he felt his body being moved. It was probably the hospital's emergency treatment. Tiger knew that he'd lost everything. That man had taken away everything that belonged to him. The divine king of the 9 heavens. Chapter 2504. Tiger woke up slowly. He was woken up by the roar of a helicopter. Where is this? Where are you taking me? Tiger realized that he wasn't in an ambulance. Instead, he was in a helicopter. The people around him weren't wearing doctors' white coats either. They were all dressed in white, but it looked more like isolation suits. You've broken 23 bones. Your left hand and jaw are completely shattered. Your right arm's nerves are damaged, and your soft tissues are injured. With the current medical technology, you can recover to a normal person, but you won't be able to step into the ring again. Impossible? These small injuries can't stop me. Tiger struggled to get up, but after struggling for a long time, he couldn't even sit up. How about it? Do you want to try again? Your spine is also heavily injured. Even if you recover, you might not be able to straighten your back. When Tiger heard what the person next to him said, he collapsed on the shelf. But that's not for sure, the person beside him said. Follow me to the lab. There's someone who can cure you there. Lab? What lab? You'll know when you get there. Why should I believe you? Do you have any other choice? Syndicate had just gotten rid of the media. For him, this battle could be said to have made a name for himself overnight. Syndicate was even a little smug. Of course, with Tiger as an example, he didn't dare to go overboard. If he could become the second person after Tiger, there might be a third person who could replace him. If he wanted to protect everything he had now, he couldn't let Chun Zhao hate him. Mr. Syndicate. At this moment, a beautiful woman with a hot body stopped Syndicate with a microphone in her hand. Mr. Syndicate, can you do an interview? It only takes 20 minutes. I'm in a hurry. 20 minutes. We're from England TV. There are tens of millions of people in England who are your loyal fans. There were only tens of millions in England, but this beautiful host was too alluring. Okay, 20 minutes. I've prepared a booth for the interview over there. Syndicate entered the booth. The beautiful host was right behind him. Suddenly, Syndicate felt a chill in his heart. He sensed danger for no reason. He turned around abruptly and reached out to grab the beautiful MC's wrist. The beautiful hostess was holding a syringe in her hand. You. Suddenly, Xing'an felt pain in his shoulder. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the staff members who were originally with the beautiful host all took out a launcher and continuously shot out tranquilizer bullets. At this time, Xin Jia couldn't care less about having tender feelings for the fairer sex. He punched the beautiful host and sent her flying. However, the anesthetic took effect. Sinka could no longer stand. Nero is dead. That guy is a monster. Even an Evolver would fall to the ground after being drugged, but he still managed to kill a person. Cut the crap. Quickly clean up Nero's body, load this guy onto the helicopter, and take him to that airport. This is your total income, but after deducting 34% tax and your $200 million investment, the remaining $348 million will be your net profit. I've spent so much time and worked so hard, but this is all I got. Chen Zhao shook his head. If you say this to someone outside, you'll be beaten to death, Alex said. Oh, when are you going to pay for the underground gambling? My people in LA reported that the people from the underground gambling wanted to escape, but they were stopped. They're raising money now, Alex said. Did you arrange it? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Underground gambling's reputation is built on profits. When they lose money, their reputation becomes worthless. I don't believe in reputation, especially when it's illegal gambling. That's right. Chen Zhao nodded. Clearly, West had brought people to block the door. No matter how powerful the underground gamblers were, could they fight against the supernatural organization? If they really had the ability, Chen Zhao would have filled the sea long ago. Alex was in a good mood. Chen Zhao's commission was very generous. The income from the underground gambling wasn't much less than his commission. Moreover, the underground gambling didn't have to pay tax, so the income was really more than the commission. However, it was very troublesome to use. But as a lawyer, this wasn't a problem for Alex. Just then, Gaia walked in from outside. Alex, Gaia, do you have something to discuss with Chen Zhao? Yes. Then I won't disturb you anymore. I'll go out first. Chun, Hinga disappeared. I can't find him. Disappeared? What do you mean? He's gone missing. He's so old. Where can he go? I can't get through to his phone either. He's probably in some Xiaoyao cave, Chen Zhao said, unconcerned. Give him some space. He's not a kid anymore. Why do you have to watch him? Chen Zhao didn't plan on raising a moral pace setter. Since Hinga was successful, it was natural that he wanted to enjoy life. Chen Zhao didn't think that he had to manage him like a kid. That would only make others hate him. Just leave him a message. Oh, I booked a ticket for tonight. You're going back so soon. How many days do you plan on staying in Moscow? Forget it. It's really uncomfortable in the snow. Gaia had the blood of a fire dragon. She hated this kind of cold weather the most. At the same time, in an abandoned airport, two helicopters landed one after the other. This airport used to be a military airbase. But after the huge thing disintegrated, many military facilities were abandoned too. This abandoned airport was just one of them. There were even many fighter jets on both sides of the runway, exposed to the sun and rain. One had to know that 30 years ago, these planes were rare treasures to any country. Even back then, China was willing to pay their limited foreign reserves to buy these planes. But after the disintegration, Russia didn't sell them in order to keep its technological advantage. But it didn't need that many planes, and it didn't have that many pilots. In the end, these planes became scrap metal and were abandoned here. Now, even if they wanted to sell them, they couldn't. Because of the upgrading of technology, the advantage these planes once had was gone. Divine King of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 2505. If a civilian flight wanted to fly in the sky, it had to be registered with the Air Traffic Control Center. Otherwise, how could they enter other people's airspace? But this airport was different. It used to be a military airport, so it used military-grade flight records. In other words, all the planes that took off from this airport were all registered in the military records. Although the airport was abandoned, the authority here was still there. This was why the airport was often used for smuggling. Of course, it could also be left behind by someone intentionally. It was used to escape. But now, this abandoned airport was being used by the Cerberus organization. When Tiger woke up again, he realized that he'd moved from a helicopter airport to a cargo plane. But when he looked around, he realized that he wasn't the only one in the cabin. Syndicate was here too. Moreover, Syndicate was currently wrapped in metal strips. Tiger was amused. Zinga woke up before Tiger did. At this moment, he was unable to restrain his rage. He didn't understand what had happened, but he was sure that he'd been kidnapped. Ha! Syndicate, you deserve this. Where's this? What's going on? Syndicate struggled with all his might, but the metal strips were too hard. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. Do you want to know? I won't tell you. Syndicate was furious, but he glanced at Tiger. How much better are you than me? At least I'm not tied up. You weren't tied up because you were crippled by me. That was just an accident. If I were to fight you again, you would be the one to lose. No matter how many times you fight, you'll still lose. It's that Chinese guy. It's all him. If it weren't for him, you'd never be able to beat me. Don't tell me you didn't accept his gift yourself. Syndicate sneered. One day, he'll throw you away like trash. Tiger, I won't repeat your mistake. Syndicate wasn't stupid. Of course, he could tell that Tiger was trying to drive a wedge between them. Moreover, he'd become famous now. He'd even replaced Tiger's position in the boxing world. Why did he have to find trouble for himself and become Chun Zhao's enemy? Wasn't Tiger's fate miserable enough? Just then, a man came out of the forward cabin. Tiger, you're awake again. Tiger looked at the person before him. Where are we going now? Back to L.A.? Return to Los Angeles? You bought the devil's potion from us, the man said. Devil's potion? Are you the people who sell the devil's potion? So you should also believe that we can heal your injuries. Devil's potion? What devil's potion? Syndicate clearly did not understand. How do you think you could beat Tiger? It's because we secretly gave you the devil's potion. However, we discovered that there seems to be something on your body that can perfectly fuse with the devil's potion, allowing the devil's potion's effects to reach perfection. When did you give me the devil's potion? I don't know what you're talking about. When you were going to Moscow, you were bumped into at the entrance of the toilet at Los Angeles Airport. I was the one who arranged it. It was there that we extracted your skin tissue. Then in the Moscow hotel's restaurant, we placed the devil's serum in your food. Thinking back, Syndicate's memory was a bit blurry, but not so blurry that he could forget. You should have felt it that night. Your body improved qualitatively again. Syndicate's expression was unsettled. Only then did Tiger understand why Syndicate could fight against him. The man had secretly given Syndicate the devil's potion. Why did you do this? Tiger stared at the man angrily. The man looked at Tiger. Tiger, Do you remember that you gave us a sample of your cells to make the devil's potion? We found in your cells that your cells and the devil's potion had a miraculous chemical reaction. This reaction has never appeared in other people. When other people use the devil's potion, their bodies will improve in a short period of time, but their lifespan will be greatly shortened and their bodies will age earlier. But you and him are different. Not only are you stronger than normal people, but after you use the devil's potion, you don't have these flaws. Instead, you improve the effects of the devil's potion. That's why I really want to know what's the difference between you and normal people. Why should I tell you? If you tell us, in return, we can heal your injuries and even become stronger than you are now. You still have a chance to replace him and become a boxing legend again, the man said. The man said, if you don't tell us, we'll just do more research and experiments on you. We'll keep extracting your body cells, skin tissues, internal organs, brain cells, and blood samples. All the inhumane experiments you've seen in movies and TV series will come true on you. How strong can you make me? Unparalleled strength. You'll even discover that you've become Superman. Huh, do you really believe him? If he could really make you stronger, would you still need to study those so-called reasons? Syndicate sneered. He was also reminding Tiger. But right now, Tiger did not care about Syndicate's reminder. Even if I can't become stronger, I can tell you the reason, Tiger said. Oh, the man did not think that Tiger would be so cooperative. I don't know the specific reason why he and I became different from ordinary people, but we have a common characteristic. My former teacher once gave us some unknown potions, and it was those potions that made us stronger. Oh, if you're looking for material, he should be a good choice, Tiger said. He's probably used those potions before, and he's stronger than both me and Syndicate. Oh, your teacher? Who's your teacher? A professor at UCLA, Tiger said. He's also rich, very rich. Tiger, you're playing with fire. Boss won't let you go. Ha! Playing with fire. He's already ruined everything for me. Do I still need to care about his feelings? At least you're still alive. But if you tell him all this, he'll kill you. Tiger's expression changed when he thought of how terrifying Chun Zhao was. At this moment, that person suddenly said, Hee hee, perhaps we should show you our strength. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 2506. The spies hidden in the military have sent news that the military has sent the 12th Regiment of the 8th Marine Division to attack our Cerberus organization, and their plan is to first deploy heavy firepower within a range of 10 kilometers outside the base, and they do not intend to engage in close combat with us, Kevin said. Moto took a deep breath. What he was afraid of had come true. He didn't expect the military to move so quickly, but it made sense. The organization had been too active in the past 2 years. It was understandable that it had exceeded the government's tolerance. How many soldiers does the 12th Marine Division have? What weapons are they equipped with? 50 armored vehicles, 12 attack helicopters, and 20 surface-to-surface missile vehicles. Their individual equipment is the conventional M16A2 automatic assault rifle, bulletproof vests, knives, grenades, and night vision goggles. There are around 3,000 people, Kevin said. They can't send all of them, right? After all, we don't even have 300 people here, Moto said worriedly. In fact, they didn't just send all of them. They even requested for B-2 strategic bombers to provide firepower support. Moto's eyes widened as he stared at Kevin in shock. Who's commanding this commander? Their firepower is enough to plow through our base and the surrounding 1 square kilometer. Why do they need B-2 strategic bombers? Do they think they don't have enough soldiers? It's Brigadier General Kermit Outless, Kevin said. 3 years ago, when he was still a colonel, he probably had a conflict with us. That's why he sent a team to kill his wife and 3 children. Moochuo was stunned. No one of the other party was so aggressive. It turned out that there was already a deep hatred between them. Call Laner Dodge over. No need. I'm already here. Laner walked in. Laner Dodge, the boss didn't ask you to come just to watch the show, right? Of course not. I know what to do, Laner Dodge said calmly. Then give me a solution. The military hasn't arrived yet. What's there to worry about? This is America. The military can go anywhere in less than half a day, Moodo said anxiously. Moreover, the military must know that they can't hide their actions from us. So after confirming their deployment, they will definitely take action in the shortest time possible. Even if we know, we won't be able to organize a defense. Kevin said, therefore they're expected to arrive tonight and directly launch an attack. At this moment, a person walked in. Mr. Moodo. Levins, you're back. How was the operation? Did it go well? It went well. One person died, but we managed to bring back 2 perfect materials. Good job. I also found out from their mouths about their special reasons. Oh, they all have a teacher who once gave them a potion similar to the devil's potion. You guys can't see the light, right? This is our sincerity. Plus, we're very powerful. If Mr. Chen wants to test our strength, you can totally try. Fine. I really want to try. A smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 25:07. You said you could help me stand up again, didn't you? Tiger called out to Levins, who had just walked in. Of course. Actually, it's not difficult at all. I've already told you everything you want to know, Tiger said. Or, do you want to go back on your word? It's not a problem to help you stand up, Levins said. Levins said, as long as you take the devil's potion, the potion's power will directly stimulate your body, but there is a certain risk. What risk? When we prepare the devil's potion for each client, there is a standard dosage. Each client can at most withstand 15 milliliters of the devil's potion. Your physique should be able to withstand more, but not more than 20 milliliters. If you exceed 20 milliliters, the excess devil's potion will cause your body to mutate. If you haven't used the devil's potion before, you can use it now to quickly recover from your injuries. However, if you use the devil's potion now, there's a high possibility that your body will undergo severe mutations. What kind of distortions? Tiger asked. I'll take you to see the distorted experimental materials, Levins said. At the same time, he turned to Hinga, who was tied up on another metal bed. Mr. Hinga, do you want to go with me? Of course, Hinga said. I'll treat it like a zoo. Mr. Hinga, your boss has already given up on you. In his eyes, you're worthless. I don't understand why you have to be loyal to him. Hinga, do you like being that Chinese man's dog that much? If I don't become his dog, will I become your dog? Xin Jia sneered. It was obvious that this organization wasn't legal. He didn't feel the need to be loyal to them. Even if he got his freedom in the future, he might be controlled by them for the rest of his life. Plus, his daughter was still in Chen Zhao's hands. Even if he didn't care about profits, he had to consider his daughter's safety. His Chinese boss wasn't a nice person. He wouldn't plan such a big show just because of Tiger's betrayal. If he betrayed his boss wouldn't reason with him. Maybe his daughter would be the first victim. Levins didn't continue persuading Hinga. In his eyes, Hinga wasn't worth much anymore. Tiger had already told him everything Hinga knew. Therefore, it didn't matter if Syndicate cooperated or not. The two of them were placed on a wheelchair and pushed out. Levins led them to a long, narrow corridor. On both sides of the aisle were glass booths. Most of the cubicles were occupied by someone. At that moment, the person in the next cubicle suddenly slammed the glass. Mr. Levins, please let me out. I am willing to work for you. Tiger looked at the man in the cubicle. He looks normal. Levins stopped and stood in front of the glass. Shine, show them how different you are, Levins said. Sheen, who was locked in the cubicle, took a deep breath and clenched his fists. At this moment, a pair of bone spurs suddenly extended from the back of his hands, just like Wolverine. Tiger looked at Shine in surprise and at the spurs on the back of his hands. Is this X-Men? He used to suffer from congenital osteoporosis. After he took an overdose of the devil's potion, his congenital osteoporosis was cured. However, he suffered from bone hyperplasia, and it was abnormal hyperplasia. As you can see, he can control the bones in his body, not just his fists, but all the bones in his joints. He can turn himself into a hedgehog. Everyone's body is different, Tiger asked. The changes will be different, right? Yes, the changes can't be controlled. Levins nodded. Also, he can be controlled. The abnormalities are relatively mild. They might leave a bad impression on you in the future experiments. Tiger and Hinga's wheelchairs continued to be pushed forward. They saw that the people in the cubicles were becoming less and less human. They even saw non-human creatures in some of the cubicles. Some had red skin, some blue skin, and some green skin. Their bodies and appearances were all strange. Some had horns. Some had fangs or claws. Some of them had fur or tails growing out of their bodies. If I use too much of the potion and a mutation occurs, will I be locked up here too? The people in here are all disobedient, Levin said. Levin said, for example, the two people who are pushing you right now are obedient people. Tiger couldn't help but turn to look at the person who was pushing them. The guy looked no different from a normal person. Creamy, let Mr. Tiger see your real body. The pupils of the man, named Karami, suddenly turned from blue to red. His hands began to turn into sharp claws, and at the same time, fur began to grow. His body also grew from 1.8 meters to 2.3 meters. Creamy is a mutated beast. His speed is shocking, and he's as strong as you. He also has the ability to climb on smooth walls. He can run 100 meters in 3 seconds. Okay, Creamy, you can change back. Levin's ordered. Creamy changed back. He's lucky. He can switch between two forms. So what if he's strong? He'll just become a deformed monster, Hinga said in disdain. I won't turn myself into a monster for so-called power. I want it. Tiger's eyes lit up. Only this power can defeat that man. Even if you become a monster, I won't hesitate. Tiger's eyes shone with hatred. Tiger didn't just hate Chun Zhao. He also feared him. If he wanted to defeat his inner demon, he had to truly defeat Chun Zhao. Tiger knew that even if he stood up again and recovered to his peak, he still couldn't defeat Chun Zhao, unless he obtained inhuman power. Only then could he defeat Chun Zhao. Hinga didn't want to become a monster in those cubicles, especially when the transformation was uncontrollable. If he really became one, he might not dare to see his daughter for the rest of his life. As long as I can defeat that man, I'm willing to pay any price. Then let me see how much devil's medicine you can take. Chapter 25:08. Tiger and Hinga were both pushed into a lab. Tiger allowed the worker beside him to insert tubes into his body. Hinga watched from his side. Are you ready? Levins asked. Come on. No need to prepare. Tiger's gaze was determined. Levins nodded at the worker, who opened the valve. The colorful devil's elixir flowed into Tiger's body through the tube. Huh. Tiger quickly reacted. His breathing became rapid. He let out a strange cry. It was hard to tell if it was comfortable or uncomfortable. Hinga didn't want to become a monster, but that didn't stop him from wanting to see what Tiger would become. But after a few minutes, Hinga frowned. Tiger's body seemed to have grown a bit bigger. It wasn't very obvious, but Hinga could sense it. As a heavyweight boxer, he had his own method. He could roughly determine his opponent's weight and body shape with just one look. Tiger's change wasn't very obvious, but it couldn't escape Hinga's eyes. After a few more minutes, Tiger's change intensified. His body grew a little bigger, especially his upper body. Huff, huff, huff. Tiger's breathing became more rapid. At the same time, the bones in his body started cracking. It felt like Tiger's bones were rearranging themselves. Levins looked at the worker. How much did you inject? 125 milliliters. Tiger, your injuries have healed. Your body hasn't exceeded a normal human body yet. Continue, continue. I want more power, Tiger growled. It wasn't a good feeling, but he felt power he'd never felt before. The power that kept growing made him unable to stop. The growth of this power also made him less and less afraid of Chun Zhao. Then continue. The devil's elixir continued to be injected. Tiger clenched his fists. His body had already expanded to almost 3 meters tall. The next change was in his skin. His skin didn't look like skin anymore. It was more like black metal. Tiger stood up. The tubes on his body were pulled out too. His body radiated a terrifying aura. This is power, true power. What that Chinese man gave me in the past was nothing. Tiger looked at Syndicate, a cruel smile on his face. Sinka, do you think I can beat you now? Syndicate's expression was serious. He knew that he couldn't defeat Tiger, who was now a monster. That aura was very similar to the oppressive feeling that Gaia gave him. Cinca, I'll give you 24 hours to think about it. Become one of us, or you can fight me. Tiger grinned at Syndicate. Yeah. Just then, Randall Dodge walked in from outside. When he saw Tiger, he couldn't help but look surprised. Has such a good experimental body been produced here? Tiger was displeased. He looked at Randall Dodge in an unfriendly manner. I'm not a test subject. In my eyes, you are a test subject. Tiger punched Randall Dodge without hesitation. This punch was ferocious and overbearing, and its speed was incomparably fast. Beside him, Syndicate could even hear the whistling sound of Tiger's fists. However, Randall Dodge only reached out his hand casually. Slap! Tiger's fist was blocked by Randall Dodge's palm, but it couldn't move forward anymore. Randall Dodge stood where he was, as steady as a mountain. Not bad strength, Randall Dodge said casually. Tiger was shocked. He felt that his strength was more than 10 times stronger than before. He also felt the changes in his muscles. Even if it was an impenetrable fortress, he would still be able to break through it. But why could this man stop his strength? Still a bit lacking. Randall Dodge suddenly exerted force. He didn't seem to make any big movements. But Tiger felt a huge force from his fist. Then Tiger was sent flying. Tiger wasn't injured. He stood up again and looked at Levins. What power is this? Levins was confused too. He knew that Randall Dodge had been sent by the organization to reinforce them. But Levins knew nothing about them. It was the strange power that Randall Dodge had displayed just now. He was also clueless. You're not the only one who's been modified in this world, Randall Dodge said with a smile. You should be the only test subject in this lab that can make my eyes light up. Your defense, strength, and speed are far better than the other test subjects here. Randall Dodge turned to Syndicate. If you're modified, you shouldn't be weaker than him. After all, you defeated him in the arena. Don't you want to see how strong you'll become? I still want to keep my human identity, Syndicate said. He wasn't interested in becoming a monster. What an idiot, Tiger said to Syndicate. At this moment, a staff member ran in. Mr. Randall Dodge, the army is here. They're already 10 kilometers away. Mr. Mulatto wants you to move immediately. Huh, it's faster than I thought, Randall said in surprise. Army? What army? Tiger asked. The government is surrounding us, Randall Dodge said. Do you want to go take a look? You're saying that we're being surrounded by the army? That's right. Randall Dodge nodded. Do you want to see true power? True power. Don't tell me you think that's all you have now. There are still powers you can't understand in this world, Randall Dodge said. Just then Mulatto ran in hurriedly. Mr. Randall Dodge, we need you. Please give us your plan as soon as possible. There's no rush. Even if the army wants to bomb, they need to arrange their troops. But I'm afraid they'll call bombers directly. Don't worry. The military's front line is only 10 kilometers away from the base. They won't call for bombers, especially the B-2 strategic bomber. It must be carrying cluster bombs. 10 kilometers is still very dangerous. Unless they want to blow up their own people, they won't call for bombers, Randall Dodge said disapprovingly. Even so, you should act quickly. You can hide underground. People can hide, but equipment can't. There's still a lot of equipment on the surface. Chapter 2509. Kermit Outless looked at the busy soldiers. Even though it was night, the temporary base was as bright as day. How much longer? Kermit Outless asked his adjutant. An hour, the adjutant said. The armored vehicles and missile vehicles aren't ready yet. Finish it in 40 minutes. Kermit Outless raised his request. He didn't like waiting. He hoped to get revenge faster. Yes, General. Kermit Outless did not like his soldiers. They had the most advanced weapons in the world, but they were also the most undisciplined soldiers. They could defeat all enemies in their strategic plans. They could also be defeated by all enemies in unplanned battles. He had once visited the armies of other countries on behalf of the United States. A few of them had left a deep impression on him. For example, other countries could finish arranging their troops in half an hour. However, his current regiment of soldiers had used up 2 hours, and there were still less than half of them left. Of course, in these 2 hours, he also found time to have dinner. This was unimaginable during wartime. If it was a real war, even a second of delay could be fatal. They smoked and drank after eating. The orders that he passed down were all largely discounted. Just then, a cloud of dust suddenly rolled up in front of the battle line. The dust spread for more than 10 kilometers and spread towards the army's battle line. What's going on? Why is there such a huge sandstorm all of a sudden? Kermit Otters looked at the rolling sandstorm and asked in confusion. But who could answer his question? This was a natural phenomenon. His subordinates weren't meteorologists. Be careful. They might take advantage of the sandstorm to attack us together. Tiger was also in shock. Among the dozens of weirdly dressed people led by Randall Dodge, there was actually someone who could control the sandstorm. That's right, control. He saw with his own eyes that the person raised his arms and the sandstorm rolled up. Wherever that person went, the sandstorm would follow. This is the true power you were talking about? Tiger asked in shock. Randall Dodge's lips curled into a smile. Though he wasn't as tall and muscular as Tiger, Tiger felt like he was looking down on him. Randall Dodge raised his arm and waved it forward. The dozen of his men hid in the sandstorm and charged towards the military's front line. Could these 10 or so people really fight against a fully armed army? Do you want to follow? Randall asked. For some reason, Tiger followed them. When the sandstorm reached the front line of the soldiers, they did nothing. They did not sense the approaching danger. Bang, 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 bang. Suddenly, all the lights in the camp exploded at the same time. Kermit Outhall's expression changed drastically. What's going on? Why did the lights in our base explode? Maybe the voltage is unstable. The adjutant's expression was a little ugly. But at this moment, a sudden scream came from the camp. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! In an instant, the entire campsite was in chaos. Everyone began to run around frantically. Most of the soldiers had yet to figure out where the enemy was. But the killing had already begun. Tiger suddenly saw a soldier charging towards him with a submachine gun in the sandstorm. Go to hell! The soldier and Tiger's encounter was sudden. Neither of them expected it. The visibility was too low in the sandstorm. The soldier reacted quickly. He pointed his gun at Tiger and Randall Dodge beside him. Tiger instinctively covered his head with his hand. But the next moment, he saw Randall Dodge raise his hand. A few meters away, the soldier's body suddenly floated as if grabbed by an invisible hand. Then Randall pointed forward with both fingers. The soldier screamed as he was thrown out, disappearing into the sandstorm. What was that? How'd you do it? Psychic power, Randall said. You can also call it mental power or brain waves. Just then, a pillar of fire shot past them. On the other side of the pillar were 2 soldiers who had been sent flying by the impact. One of Randall's men strolled over, his arms burning with flames. That one too? Tiger asked, pointing at the man. A ball of fire also rose from Randall's palm. A normal person's brain waves are very weak. They can only be detected with special equipment. But when the brain waves reach a certain level, about 100 times stronger than a normal person's, they have the ability to control objects. Their strength is similar to their bodies. If the brain waves are strengthened another 100 times, their strength will be 100 times that of a normal person's. They will also have fixed attributes. There are roughly 4 elements: wind, earth, water, and fire. As he spoke, Randall Dodge raised his hand in front of him. A large military truck, a few meters away, was suddenly lifted into the air and then swept into the sand. Tiger was beyond shocked. You're a fire elemental? No, I'm stronger than them. I can control 4 elements at will. Randall raised his right arm. A 10-meter icicle appeared above his head. At that moment, Tiger finally understood the so-called true power that Randall Dodge had mentioned. The strength that he was so proud of was not even worth mentioning in front of him. Even Chun Zhao, whom he feared, seemed insignificant in the face of this power. Tiger's eyes shone brightly. Can I control this power? A smile appeared on Randall's face. Do you know why I brought you here? Why? Because I think you have a talent. Then how can I obtain this power? A small bottle appeared in Randall's hand. It was filled with black liquid. The Cerberus lab exists to create finished products like you. Did you also come from the Cerberus lab? Tiger asked. No, we've existed longer than you think. 60 years ago, Mr. Vincent created the first generation of a lab. We were created in that era, but because of an attack, the lab was destroyed. Large amounts of data were destroyed too. Later, to prevent the same thing from happening again, the lab was split into two parts. The Cerberus lab is a low-level lab, but because of the missing key data, everything has to be redone. That's why the lab has never been able to create a perfect medicine. You're probably the first successful experiment in the past few decades. Chapter 25:10. You're already 60? Actually, I'm 158, Laner said. I was already 98 years old when I was experimented on, but the experiment restored my youthful appearance, and my physique far surpassed that of ordinary people, said Laner Dodge. This potion can give me telekinesis. Yes, but your telekinesis is fixed. After you take the potion, you'll be able to activate as much telekinesis as you can. Is it dangerous? Tiger asked again. You've already passed the most dangerous stage. This potion isn't dangerous at all. I can take it now, of course. Tiger drank the potion without hesitation. In an instant, an invisible limb seemed to extend out of his brain. The invisible limb was like a tentacle. After extending for dozens of meters, it started branching again. The tentacles that had branched out again, like a towering tree. Everything the tentacle touched would be sent back to Tiger's brain. Everything was so clear. Tiger suddenly had an idea. The tentacle suddenly wrapped around all the soldiers it touched. Instantly, dozens of soldiers in the sandstorm were caught at the same time. They struggled and howled in fear. A cruel smile appeared on Tiger's face. Randall Dodge was a little surprised. Tiger wasn't just talented. He was also smart. Among the dozens of captured soldiers, some of them were suddenly set ablaze. Some were suddenly frozen into icicles. Some were shrouded in a small storm, directly twisting people into fried dough twists, and some were directly covered in rocks and soil. Laner's eyes widened. Tiger was the same as him. 1 million telekinesis. That was the name Randall Dodge gave to his current level of telekinesis. Tiger wasn't very good at using it yet, but it was already very powerful. Attach your telekinesis to your body, Laner said. It can strengthen your physical attack and defense. Tiger did as he was told. He attached his telekinesis to his body. You can give it a try. Tiger shot through the air. His speed instantly surpassed the speed of sound. He knew everything around him like the back of his hand, even though the sandstorm had completely covered the area. But he didn't need to use his eyes. The people and objects around him were clearly imprinted in his brain. Suddenly, a cannonball shot over. Tiger didn't dodge. Instead, he charged at the cannonball. Bang! With a loud bang, the huge impact sent Tiger flying. But when Tiger stood up, he realized he was unharmed. True power. Is this true power? Tiger laughed maniacally. I don't have to be afraid of that person anymore. I don't need to fear that person anymore. Is this the power they have? Moato turned to look at Kevin and Levins. They were all in front of the monitor screen and were shocked by the power Randall Dodge had displayed. It was an extreme shock. It was too terrifying. It was like a modern army facing a deity. He was completely defenseless. Syndicate was also in front of the screen. He felt cold all over. There was actually such a person in this world. It wasn't a battlefield at all, but a slaughterhouse. The heavily armed soldiers didn't even have the chance to show off their firepower. Their vision is obscured, their weapons limited. However, the person they were facing had an indestructible body and a strength more terrifying than modern weapons. So, Randall Dodge's side was actually undefeatable. It was only a matter of time before the battle ended. Tiger, you can stop now. Stop? There are many enemies here. Tiger was already addicted. He was fascinated by killing and power. We need hostages, Randall Dodge said. He knew how Tiger felt now. He was addicted to power and killing. He was even addicted He needed a long time to get used to it before he could treat it as normal. Tiger was still killing without caring about anything. Randall Dodge made his move. Instantly, Tiger's body was restrained by psychic power. Tiger immediately used his psychic power to break free. But facing Randall Dodge's psychic power, he couldn't break free at all. Why is this happening? You don't know anything about this power, Randall Dodge said calmly. Tiger had awakened 1,000,000 psychic powers. But there was still a huge difference between him and Randall Dodge, who'd controlled this power for 60 years. They weren't even on the same level now. Okay, if you want to become stronger, you have to listen to me first. Only then did Tiger calm down a little. After the sandstorm, more than 100 soldiers were captured, and all of them were stripped naked. Research had shown that being naked would reduce a person's resistance. This was clearly very effective. Even Brigadier General Kermit Outhalls was stripped naked now. At this moment, Kermit Otters was in complete despair. His revenge seemed to have turned into a farce, and this farce cost the lives of thousands of soldiers. He'd even become the enemy's captive. It was hard for him to accept. This battle had also changed his worldview. His opponent wasn't human at all. It was a power he couldn't understand. Even if he was given another chance, he wouldn't know how to face or defeat an enemy like this. Hi, Ms. Demi. You haven't contacted me in a while. What's up? Mr. Chun, does our cooperation still count? Of course. I've always kept my promises. Our cooperation is quite satisfactory. The military's in trouble. Huh? Don't tell me your army is surrounded by some country. I don't get involved in politics or conflicts of national interest. I'm not even American. It's not overseas. It's domestic. It's right here. Domestic? Is your military's control over your territory that bad? How can you get into trouble here? Are you worthy of the title of the world's top army? Mr. Chun, if you want to mock me all you want, but can you let me finish? Fine. How much do you know about the Cerberus? I don't know much about them. One of my subordinates was attacked by the Cerberus organization before. Could it be that your military has also been attacked by the Cerberus organization? Are they that bold? Actually, the military went to surround them, but they failed. Oh, if that's the case, then send more troops to encircle and suppress them. Isn't this a very simple multiple-choice question? That's the problem. They failed this time. A brigadier general and more than 100 soldiers were captured. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 2511. You want me to save those soldiers and brigadier generals who were captured? Yes, Demi Sonnenfeld answered. What's in it for you? What's in it for me? Chun Zhao and Demi Sonnenfeld were partners of mutual benefit. However, it wasn't the kind where you'd help me with whatever money I gave you. Instead, Chun Zhao would help Demi Sonnenfeld solve problems when she needed them. Then, the next time he needed them, Demi Sonnenfeld would help him. If it was an order from the higher-ups and Demi Sonnenfeld didn't complete it, Chun Zhao wouldn't care. Unless Demi Sonnenfeld could gain something from it. I'm fighting for the position of director of a National Security Bureau, Demi Sonnenfeld said. If I succeed, I'll be the direct superior of the counterterrorism department. But my age and experience are both big problems. Chun Zhao raised an eyebrow. If Demi Sonnenfeld became the director of the National Security Bureau, the supernatural organization could break free from the counterterrorism department's restrictions. If you solve this problem, you can become the director of a National Security Bureau. Of course not, Demi Sonnenfeld said. Demi Sonnenfeld said, this is just a chance to perform. It's a problem for the military, and no one has accepted it yet. If I accept this mission and solve the problem, it can only be said to be a chance to perform. Moreover, the current director has not retired. I need more opportunities to perform. How long do you need according to your plan? How confident are you? 2 years at most. If there are no accidents, the current director's term will end in 2 years. As for confidence, there are many competitors, but I'm still 60% confident. I already have a complete plan. 2 years, Chun Zhao said. I can wait. Chun Zhao didn't participate in politics, but he knew a lot of insider information. He knew that some positions didn't belong to you just because you made a lot of contributions. You still need to exchange your benefits and get more people to support you. especially the position that Demi Sonnenfeld wanted. It was a very special and sensitive position. If it was just Demi Sonnenfeld, no matter how much she made, she wouldn't have the position. She needed to build a huge network, and Chun Zhao was just one of them. Send me the information on the Cerberus organization. Yes, you will receive the message immediately. All right, if you can't save them, let them sleep forever. Why? Even if we can't save them, there's no need to kill them. There are many high-ranking military officers among them, especially Brigadier General Kermit Outalish. He knows many military secrets. If those secrets are leaked from his mouth, it will be a great threat to the military. Chun Zhao realized that in the information Demi Sonnenfeld had sent him, the location of one of their headquarters was actually the same as the one he'd talked to earlier. Chun Zhao picked up the phone, found the number, and called back. Mr. Chun, is it convenient for me to go over now? Welcome. Levitz was very satisfied. He had a lot of researchers under him, and most of them were lured by his technology. Chun Zhao drove to the edge of the desert and called Levitz again. Not long after, a helicopter appeared in the sky. There were two heavily armed mercenaries in the back of the helicopter. They looked at Chun Zhao warily. If Chun Zhao did anything bad, they would shoot him without hesitation. Chun Zhao, on the other hand, was quite casual. He crossed his legs and hummed. Just then, Chun Zhao saw smoke in the distance. The smoke seemed to be a battlefield. It had calmed down, but many things were still burning. Flying over the battlefield, Chun Zhao saw the Cerberus base. We're here. Get off. Chun Zhao got off the helicopter. A man in a white coat stood beside Chun Zhao to welcome him. Mr. Chun, I'm Levitz. Welcome. I want to confirm Syndicate's safety. Of course. With a smile on his face, Levitz brought Chun Zhao into the headquarters. A while later, Chun Zhao saw Syndicate. Syndicate was still tied up. When he saw Chun Zhao, he was very excited. Mr. Chun, why are you here? Of course I'm here to save you. Chun Zhao smiled. Mr. Levitz, can you untie my friend? Levitz thought for a moment. Glancing at his subordinate beside him, he nodded. Sure, but please restrain him. After all, they're professional shooters. Of course, Syndicate, don't do anything rash. No matter when, no matter what happens, stay by my side. Syndicate sighed. He didn't really want to resist now. He knew that no matter how he resisted, he would only die. He just didn't understand why Chun Zhao had come. Didn't he know how dangerous it was to come here alone? Show me your research results, Chun Zhao said. Levitz's lips curled. Mr. Chun, don't you want to see your former student? He's here now, too. My former student? I have many students. I don't know who you're talking about. At this moment, a tall figure walked in. It was a figure that everyone looked up to. Teacher, who are you? Chun Zhao raised his head and looked at Tiger. Of course, he recognized Tiger, but he only hated Tiger. He hated the current Tiger even more. I'm Tiger. Have you completely forgotten me? Huh? Tiger, how stupid are you? You turned yourself into this. All of my changes are just to make myself stronger, so that I can defeat you. Huh? You? Defeat me? With the current you? I think it's enough. Right now, I'm so strong that I can't even imagine it. Even you can't imagine it. Looks like I haven't left enough fear in you, Chun Zhao said in disdain. I'll return all the humiliation and fear you've given me to you. Tiger pointed his fist at Chun Zhao. Tiger, our lab still needs Mr. Chun, Levitz said. Don't worry. After all, he used to be my teacher. I'll let him live. Tiger grinned. Looking at Chun Zhao, he said, This is my last respect for you. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 25:12. Mr. Chun, Syndicate wanted to remind him. Tiger glared at Syndicate. Your reminder is meaningless. Chun Zhao chuckled. I don't care about your respect, but I hope that you can keep your fear of me forever. Tiger suddenly raised his fist. I will never fear you again. Chun Zhao didn't defend, dodge, or parry at all. He allowed the fist to land on his body. Everyone thought that Chun Zhao would die, or he would be sent flying with a single punch. But Chun Zhao didn't move at all. Chun Zhao raised his palm. He pushed Tiger's fist away bit by bit. Syndicate stared at him in shock. He had never seen Chun Zhao fight. He almost thought that Chun Zhao was an ordinary person. However, normal people could not resist Tiger's monstrous strength. Normal people couldn't face Tiger. Tiger, you need to be afraid, Chun Zhao said calmly. Even if you go to hell in the future, you must maintain your fear of me. This is not all. Tiger roared. In an instant, his telekinesis exploded completely. He raised his fist again and smashed at Chun Zhao. Be careful, Zinka exclaimed. He had seen Tiger do this before, during the massacre of the regular army. Tiger had used this move to block the cannon and turn the armored car into scrap metal with one punch. Chun Zhao waved his hand. Boom, boom, boom. Everyone widened their eyes and stared in shock at Tiger, who had been sent flying. Tiger's huge body smashed through the walls along the way. He flew dozens of meters away. No one could believe this. That indescribably terrifying Tiger couldn't even stop this seemingly insignificant man. Mr. Levins, can you help me prepare your research data? I'm quite interested in your research. Chun Zhao looked at Levins with a smile. Levon stared at Chun Zhao in a daze. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. In the distance, Tiger shook his head. He was dazed from the beating. In that instant, he felt an indescribably terrifying power. However, he did not admit defeat. He had not used his full strength just now. He believed that if he used his full strength, even Chun Zhao couldn't stop him. Syndicate vaguely understood what Gaia had warned him about. Never betray or anger your boss. Tiger stood up again. This time, he finally looked his teacher in the eye. He needed a little bit of time to completely cover the surface of his body with his telekinesis. At this moment, Randall Dodge also came. His subordinates were all here as well. Randall immediately felt that the threat came from Chun Zhao. Randall Dodge attacked Chun Zhao without hesitation. But Chun Zhao suddenly disappeared. The next moment, Randall Dodge found a hand on his neck and shoulder. Shocked, Laner immediately unleashed all his telekinesis, trying to shake Chun Zhao away. But Chun Zhao did not move at all. Randall Dodge's neck was separating from his shoulder. Blood spurted out from the wound on his shoulder and neck. At this moment, everyone felt an unprecedented sense of fear. That was Randall Dodge. That was a terrifying existence that had just led his subordinates to slaughter a regular army. But, however, he was currently being slaughtered. No matter how Randall Dodge struggled, no matter how he resisted, there was no way to stop the process. Finally, Randall let out the last cry of his life. Then everything went silent. His head just hung in Chun Zhao's hand, dripping with blood. Tiger's pupils constricted. He stared at Randall Dodge's head in disbelief. He knew very well how big the difference between him and Randall Dodge was. In terms of level, they might be the same. But in terms of control of telekinesis, he was a Pacific Ocean away from Randall Dodge. Randall only needed to use 1/10 of his telekinesis to suppress him. However, Chun Zhao had torn off his head in one move. Instantly, Tiger felt his scalp go numb. The fear that he'd suppressed in the depths of his heart swept through him again. Suddenly, Chun Zhao flashed behind someone again and grabbed the person's head. The person's body instantly turned into flames. He seemed to want to force Chun Zhao back with heat. But Chun Zhao did not give him the chance. Crack! The watermelon exploded. The flames still remained in Chun Zhao's hand. Tiger did not dare to move. Earlier, when they faced the army, it was a one-sided massacre. But now, when they faced Chun Zhao, it was a one-sided massacre. Randall Dodge's death was just the beginning. His dozen subordinates had only lived 1 or 2 minutes longer than him. Very soon, they would all follow in Randall's footsteps. Syndicate's fear of Chun Zhao was actually the same as Tiger's. Of course, he did not need to worry that Chun Zhao would kill him. So, although they were both afraid of Chun Zhao, their mentality was completely different. Tiger, do you really think you can defeat me after becoming a monster and giving up your human identity? Do you really think you can defeat your fear like this? Chun Zhao walked toward Tiger step by step. You don't understand me. You've never truly understood me. Do you really think you have that much power? Chun Zhao waved his hand, and the building on the left collapsed instantly. Like a building made of sand, it disintegrated. Tiger, Syndicate, and Levins could not close their mouths. Levins grabbed his hair. What did he do? How did he attract such a demon? You know nothing about power. Chen Zhao punched the ground. Boom! The entire base was destroyed. With Chen Zhao as the center, spiderwebs instantly covered the entire base. Tiger leaped out in fear. Xi and Jia, on the other hand, continued to fall. Just when he thought he was going to die, a hand grabbed him. Chen Zhao grabbed him with one hand, but his body was suspended in the air. Then Chen Zhao threw Syndicate beside the huge pit. Tiger had fled in this direction too. He thought he had a chance to escape. But the next moment, Chen Zhao stopped him. Tiger knelt on the ground in fear, his face covered in tears. Teacher, I was wrong. The light of humanity finally appeared on Chen Zhao's face. Tiger, I'm happy that you've realized your mistakes and realized your mistakes. I'm happy. I forgive you. Seeing Chen Zhao smile, Tiger felt like he'd returned to the time when he'd lost his arm and Chen Zhao had appeared before him and brought him hope. It was inexplicably touching and sincere. Back then, Chen Zhao had been his faith and hope. So, you should say sorry to all the victims too. What? You should go die. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 25:13. All of Tiger's hairs stood on end. He wanted to explain and beg for mercy. But Chen Zhao had already flashed before him. As your teacher, I can give you the right to choose how you want to die. Of course, you're limited by the conditions here, so you don't have many choices. Fine, I'll take it as you've made your choice. Suddenly, Chen Zhao increased his strength and lifted Tiger up. Syndicate watched as Tiger turned into a falling meteor. The process was the same as a normal falling meteor. It drew an arc in the air and then disappeared in the friction and burning of the atmosphere. Chen Zhao glanced at Syndicate. Wait here. Syndicate gulped and nodded, standing where he was obediently. Chen Zhao leaped into the center of the huge pit he'd created. After lifting a few stone slabs, an elevator shaft was revealed. Actually, there weren't many living people in the buildings Chen Zhao had destroyed. All the captives and most of the researchers were underground. In an underground building that was 180 meters deep, Chen Zhao jumped into the elevator shaft directly. About 20 minutes later, Chen Zhao walked out of the elevator shaft. Hey, Demi, it's Chen Zhao. How's it going? You can send people over now. None of the captives are dead, but they're trapped in the underground base 180 meters deep. I've already dealt with the people in the base, so there's no danger. It's just difficult to rescue them. Do as you see fit. Thank you, Demi said. Compared to letting Chen Zhao rescue the captives, or kill them all, Demi was much more valuable. On the other hand, it was more valuable to keep the captives and let her rescue Chen Zhao. The difficulty proved the meaning of her actions. Demi knew that Chen Zhao's abilities were different from normal people, so she didn't ask how he'd done it. Syndicate also didn't ask why Chen Zhao had jumped into the hole just now. Let's go. My car is quite far from here. Syndicate followed Chen Zhao silently. Don't betray me, Chen Zhao suddenly said. No, I definitely won't betray you, boss. I can swear to any god. For Tiger's betrayal, I turned him into a shooting star. If you betray me, I'll turn you into a satellite and make you orbit the Earth forever. Syndicate shivered. Chen Zhao wasn't joking. He could feel it. After walking for a long time, Syndicate finally saw Chen Zhao's car. It's parked at the end of the highway. Boss, you can actually carry me and fly here, right? I don't like carrying a mail. But when I was in danger just now, didn't you? If you cut your stomach open, I'm willing to send you to the hospital as fast as I can. After Syndicate got in, Chen Zhao was about to start the car. The moment the headlights came on, a shadow appeared in front of Doe. It was just like some supernatural scenes in movies. The shadow instantly disappeared. Chen Zhao saw it. So did Syndicate. There's a ghost. There's a ghost. Syndicate shouted in horror. Shut up. What's there to be afraid of? Chen Zhao scolded. Come out, Mr. Vincent. Don't force me to attack. At this moment, the figure appeared again. Xin Jia shuddered again. He knew how terrifying Chun Zhao was. At least Chun Zhao wouldn't hurt him. But ghosts were different. Syndicate was still influenced by American horror movies. He was still very afraid of ghosts. Vincent's real body was a sea snake. His ability was Fata Morgana. The effect was similar to the flickering effect in American horror movies. Mr. Vincent, your real body is nearby, right? There's no river nearby. Are you going to walk into a trap? Mr. Chun, my real body is in the underground river, about 500 meters above the ground, Vincent said proudly. So your threat is useless against me. After all, he thought of many ways to face Chun Zhao again and avoid being threatened by force. Finally, he found this underground river. He didn't have to worry about Chun Zhao dragging his real body and attacking him. Chun Zhao got out of the car. Looking at Vincent, he said, I'll give you another chance to reorganize your words. Mr. Chun, don't scare me. You can't do anything to me. Are you sure? Chun Zhao asked again. However, he had an evil smile on his face. Yes, it was indeed difficult for him to break through 500 meters of ground in a short time. For example, the Cerberus laboratory had a depth difference of 180 meters between their headquarters and the underground base. Chun Zhao had destroyed the entire base on the surface and didn't even touch the base. The ground would spread Chun Zhao's power. The thicker the ground, the more power would spread. So Chun Zhao really couldn't attack Vincent's real body in a short time. But Vincent found it a bit scary. After all, Chun Zhao had left an extremely deep impression on him. However, he was confident that Chun Zhao couldn't do anything to him if he hid in the underground river more than 500 meters deep. But he suddenly realized that the water of the underground river seemed to be attacking him. As a sea snake, Vincent obviously wasn't afraid of water. However, he quickly realized that as a water snake, it was difficult for him to gain an advantage in his own battlefield. The underground river water formed a cage, trapping Vincent's real body. Moreover, the water prison was still shrinking to the point where Vincent felt uncomfortable, feeling that he was in mortal danger. Water wasn't just Vincent's home ground. It was also Chun Zhao's home ground. Chun Zhao's control of water was much stronger than Vincent's. If water was Vincent's home ground, then it was Chun Zhao's. In the water, Chun Zhao had an additional domain. The two weren't on the same level at all. Vincent's figures started flashing, unable to maintain a normal state. Little water snake, come. Use your loud voice to tell me that you're not afraid of me. Vincent's expression was awkward. He seemed to be smiling, yet not smiling, crying, yet not crying. Mr. Chun, I'm very sorry. Actually, I'm not here to be your enemy. You mocked me the moment you came. Now you're telling me that you're not here to be my enemy? Ha! Do you really think my fists aren't big enough? Mr. Chun, I'm here on my master's orders to seek a chance to work with you. Ha! Do you think I'm stupid? This is just my own stupid behavior, Vincent said. It's not my master's orders. I don't think I have anything in common with that old master of yours. If I met him, I would definitely kill him instead of talking about any project cooperation with him. Chapter 25:14. Vincent could only ignore Chun Zhao's slandering of his master. He had no choice. His life was in Chun Zhao's hands. There was really no need to face him head-on. Mr. Chun, I heard that there's another organization in L.A. called the Psionic Team. They seem to be preparing to conquer Bermuda. Don't tell me that you and your master are from Bermuda. If that's the case, I might hand you over to the Psionic Team for a bounty. Mr. Chun, I know that your organization and the Psionic Team are mortal enemies. So, you and your master are really the masterminds behind Bermuda? Quite the opposite. I'm representing my master to form an alliance with you. Alliance? Me and you? Your master? What alliance? I'm not familiar with you. It has nothing to do with familiarity, Vincent said. It's about benefits. Fine, let's talk about benefits. The Psionic Team plans to conquer Bermuda, but the supernatural organization and I don't. If you want to conquer Bermuda, you can work with the Psionic Team instead of me. The Psionic Team? The corner of Vincent's mouth twitched. Don't think that I don't know the meaning of the Psionic Team. As for their strength, To put it bluntly, I alone can destroy them. As for their expedition to Bermuda, do you think it's possible? Don't overestimate your power. Maybe the psionic team will give you an unexpected surprise. Oh, does the psionic team have some hidden power? Vincent narrowed his eyes. Do you need my name card? Just say that I introduced you. They'll definitely treat you well. Mr. Chun, do you know what's in Bermuda? Demons. I've killed a few small monsters that escaped from Bermuda. The one who rules Bermuda is a subordinate of the King of Jealousy. His name is Leviathan Aberantigmus. King of Jealousy? Chun Zhao narrowed his eyes. The 7 sins of hell were pride, jealousy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust. They were either the demon king himself or his subordinates. Other than the King of Jealousy, he had basically come into contact with all the others. If you want to fight against the subordinates of the 7 great demon kings, unless you also have the power of a subordinate of the 7 deadly sins, it is impossible to fight against them. The other subordinates of the 7 deadly sins can be defeated by relying on the suppression of their levels. But the power of the King of Jealousy cannot be defeated by relying on the suppression of their levels. Oh, why? The King of Jealousy has the power to copy other people's abilities and magic. Apart from the other 6 demon king powers of the same level, no other power is immune to the King of Jealousy's power. Isn't this mirror magic? Mirror image is indeed very similar to the King of Jealousy's power, but it can't copy the enemy's level. However, the King of Jealousy can copy the enemy's abilities and spells in their strongest state. Even I'm jealous of this ability, Chun Zhao said. Is that so? Are you really jealous of my power? Suddenly, a voice rang out in Chun Zhao's mind. Chun Zhao looked around. No one. However, that voice was definitely not an illusion. I have something urgent to do, Chun Zhao said. Let's talk tomorrow. Oh, dress more formally tomorrow. Chun Zhao was quite concerned about the voice's words. Then, Chun Zhao drove Syndicate away. He left behind the dumbfounded Vincent. Weren't they having a good talk? Why did he suddenly leave? Was there really something urgent? Fortunately, Chun Zhao didn't hurt his real body. It seemed that there really was something urgent. Come out, Chun Zhao yelled. Boss, who are you talking to? Syndicate asked, trembling. He didn't hear anything, so he obviously didn't know what had happened. I'm not talking to you, Chun Zhao said. Pretend that nothing happened. You summoned me to the real world, but I can't appear before you. Are you the projection of the King of Jealousy, or a subordinate of the King of Jealousy? Chun Zhao asked. When he was communicating with Vincent just now, he was really jealous. According to past experience, when Chun Zhao had some emotions, he would summon the corresponding Demon King power. He was either a subordinate of the Demon King or a projection of the Demon King. For example, Samuel appeared in the form of a little kitten, but Samuel didn't have any power. Apart from his identity as the Demon King, he had no other power. Of course, he could also control Chun Zhao's dark lava, but Chun Zhao had to be by his side. Samuel's method of controlling the dark lava was better than Chun Zhao's, but he was still borrowing Chun Zhao's power. Plus, if Chun Zhao rejected Samuel's control, Samuel would instantly return to his kitten form. So, if the King of Jealousy was a projection of his real body, it would probably be the same. The Demon King's power definitely couldn't pass through the barrier between the human world and hell. Even a secondary Demon King or a Great Lord couldn't do it, let alone a Demon King. I'm the King of Jealousy, Leviathan. Come, let me see your projection. I don't have a body. You only summon my consciousness. I don't have a projected body or power. My consciousness can only be attached to your territory as your special dependent. You mean you don't have a body? Yes. Why is that? I summoned Samuel before. At least he had a projection. Strange human, Leviathan said. The Leviathan said, humans can actually summon Samuel's projection and my consciousness. Chun Zhao hadn't broken the rules in both of his summons. Both Samuel and Leviathan were in a harmless state. But even so, it was still unbelievable. Attached to his territory? Chun Zhao suddenly contracted his territory. Gradually, a figure appeared in it. It was a goat with a demon's face. Syndicate was shocked again. It wasn't that he was cowardly, but anyone would pee their pants when such a terrifying scene suddenly appeared in front of their car windshield. What's with the noise? Chen Zhao yelled. In the West, a goat was the image of a demon in the human world. Chen Zhao felt that the ancients might have seen Leviathan in the human world. The goat before him was indeed the incarnation of a demon. Chen Zhao could condense Leviathan's consciousness through his territory. But as long as he let go, Leviathan's consciousness would immediately return to its original state. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.